If you're watching online, if you sprung for the money, for the podcast, very little money, you are going KilmeadeandFriends.com and you're seeing the video. Look who's in studio, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West.
Great to be with you, Brian.
It's great to see you. What brings you to New York?
Well, I spoke last night to the London Center for Policy Research about foreign policy issues and national security, and here with you, and got to go over and speak to my publisher at Random House because we have a book coming out next April.
Guardian of the Republic. It's pretty. Is it your story?
It's my story, and being brought up in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, all the way up to being a member of Congress, and my thoughts, perspectives, why I love this country so much.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss now, and we've had a chance to talk to you almost every week, and then talk to you when you were a contractor, talk to you when you're in the military, and talk to you as a congressman, and now a Fox News contributor. I could have written your bio. In fact, for the right money, I could have done it.
Well, I tried to get Bill Ayers to write my book, but he was busy.
It's a shame.
Yeah,
you would think he would just look to cash in because it's going to do extremely well. Now, we have a lot to discuss. I mean, John Kerry on Capitol Hill yesterday trying to defend the 6-month deal with Iran. Then we have the situation in Afghanistan with Hamid Karzai, a place that you actually worked, and he does not want to sign the deal. And then we had General Odierno on this morning, and I should have told you this, Allison Mansfield, ahead of time, but I'd love to pull the bite when I asked the General, what about Iraq? And he said, would we be better off with the residual force, where you also fought? And the answer was yes. We'll talk about that, but I want to share these numbers that just came across. The President of the United States says we'll have new Obamacare numbers for November now, today, and this just came out. About 260,000 people enrolled in Obamacare, bringing the total to 365,000 in both federal. They have gone to healthcare.gov in most of those cases, and they've picked exchanges. Now, what we have found out, most of this is the expansion of Medicaid, which is state, financed by the federal government a great deal. And that new Medicaid money is coming from the federal government, even though you would think it's a state program. Those numbers far throw from 7 million. And as we understand, a lot of those people think they have insurance, but the back end is not going well.
It's not there. The thing is, if everything went right from 1 October to 1 March to hit that 7 million number, they had to have 55,000 people per day sign up. Now, because of the fact that the website did not get up and running when it was supposed to, now they have crunched themselves down. They need to have 100,000 per day to sign up. They're falling way short of that number. And furthermore, like you said, a large percentage are going into Medicaid. They're not going into these exchanges, so there's not any, subsidies of, the other people that are lower income and also the unhealthy, the pre-existing conditions. So we're looking at a collapse. So it's not going well. And then you brought up the point about the back end. A lot of people are going in thinking they have purchased insurance, but in the long run, they may not have it.
Yeah, they might not have it in the end, which will cause a little bit of a problem if you're in the doctor's office and they call you up and they say, that $290 visit you had, we need $290.
Yes.
Because you didn't have insurance.
And a lot of doctors are opting out of it as well.
All right. I want to bring you to this story because I think it matters a lot. I see it in my family, with my mom in particular. She's got a doctor. Nice guy. I don't think he's the best doctor, but she likes him. She trusts him, and the guy's been great with her for 25 years, maybe longer. Doesn't matter what I think, right?
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It's her personal choice. It's her personal decision.
So Dan Mendelsohn he has a pretty official title with the Clinton administration. He was the Associate Health Director at OMB, Office of Management and Budget. Pretty qualified guy.
Yep.
He weighed in, and I think he believes he was further explaining the virtues of Obamacare. But that's not how I took it. Here is Dan Mendelsohn.
The plans are getting paid on the basis of quality, and they're moving these quality incentives down to doctors and hospitals and holding them accountable. I think a lot of doctors are not happy about being measured. And frankly, as a patient and as someone who advocates for health system change, I want doctors to be measured, and I want there to be quality incentives, and I also want there to be a system that does not penalize them for taking a sick patient.
So what they're trying to say is we're going to measure them. We are going to measure them.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, see, this is what people don't understand. The whole part behind Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, is 159 new government agencies and bureaucracies. You think about the Independent Payment Advisory Board that's going to make all the cost decisions about Medicare and other things. You think about some of these agencies will be the ones determining whether or not this doctor is up to their quality, is up to their standards, to the point where they're going to start dictating, the payment payment schemes of doctors and where they want people to go and practice. This is an incredible, it really is a takeover of the healthcare industry.
So the downside, the upside, they say, is it lowers costs. The downside is, and this is in legalese.
But lowers costs for who?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's say you take that at face value. The downside is it restricts patient choice. I mean, that to me, in many cases, is more important than even the money.
It's far more important because, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb. It amazes me that the only choice that liberals agree with is the choice to kill an unborn child. But when it comes to your choice for your doctor, when it comes to your choice, you know, in healthcare, when it comes to your choices as far as what type of vehicle you want to drive, whatever, they feel that you're not smart enough to make that choice. And when you listen to this gentleman, when you listen to Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, they really believe that they know what is best. Absolutely.
Doesn't it remind you of every arrogant Ivy League person you meet? There's a lot of great people that
That's
graduate
why I went
from
to
Ivy
school
Leagues.
in the Southeast Conference.
Well, I went to you went to Southeast Conference. I went to CW Post. So you're not going to get that argument from me. Dr. Ben Carson, a doctor, a neurosurgeon, he weighed in.
One of the reasons that private practice is disappearing is because all of these different costs and requirements are so onerous. You need to be under the umbrella of a hospital or a big medical system in order to be able to do that. And basically, we're in the process of making doctors into government employees. And
they will just drop out.
They are dropping out.
And the thing is, I like when doctors are rich. I think they do deserve to be rich. They're working till they go to school till they're 32, 33 years old.
And I know about this because my oldest daughter is a junior and she's a pre-med major in college. So I want her to be successful, and I see what she's doing already to try to prepare to be a good quality doctor, to be able to go out there, and she wants to be in pediatrics, and she is going to be a fantastic young doctor. But what I see is a government that is going to restrict her options, a government that is trying to control what she can do as far as provide good quality care to the patients.
All right, so this is Obamacare continues to roll out and be at the very least generously controversial. I want to bring you to right now what happened yesterday. Paul Ryan announced, along with Senator Patty Murray, that they wanted to conference actually hatched a deal. From what you can tell us, from what you know of that deal, tell me what you think of it.
You know, until we really get serious about economic growth and tax reform, I don't know if we're making any type of headway whatsoever. I haven't had the chance to sit down and see the full, details of, their final budget deal. But, I know that there are a lot of people that are not happy with it. There are a lot of people that feel that they are falling short of the mark. And, we got to get the politics aside. We got to come out with good, strong economic growth policy.
The budget is over $1 trillion. The overall the reductions of $23 billion in spending. They've restructured some of the sequester cuts to give the military a little bit more movement. So now the military does not have to cut as many billions as they thought. In fact, it restores the $63 billion in automatic cuts from Head Start and health research. It also takes the same amount, and they split it between domestic programs and the Pentagon, that same $63 billion. The military budget's at $520 billion.
Yeah.
So that's what it'll have to be at.
Yeah.
You think we can function well on that?
Well, I think the most important thing we need to ask the Pentagon, what are your responsibilities in the geographic areas, being at the CENTCOM, the AFRICOM, the PACOM, and they should be the ones that are saying, if you want to have the United States, secure, these are the requirements that we have. And the other thing we have to come to understand, Brian, we have to have budget priorities. Every dollar in Washington, D.C. is not equal. If you look at the Constitution, providing for the common defense is the most important responsibility of the federal government, not putting people on food stamps, not expanding Medicaid. So I think that that's where we need to go back to the drawing board.
Here's Senator Marco Rubio says, I'm not going for it. And Senator Tom Coburn says this. He sounded really happy. And he sounded happy, and the crowd roared in the background. He basically said this: I'm sure this is the best Paul could get, but it isn't anything I can support.
Sure. And that is the thing. There are two different philosophies in Washington, D.C. It's not so much about Republican and Democrat. It's about larger government or truly a responsible, fiscally responsible government that understands its, its scope, its left and right limits, and that is what we're coming up against. I'm sure that, Patty Murray, upon orders from Harry Reid, wanted to see more tax increases because that's what they think tax reform really is. If we don't get this budget under control down in Washington, D.C., if we don't get the spending under control in Washington, D.C., we're going to continue to bust this thing. And you still have the debt that'll be coming up, I believe, on the 7th of February about extending that debt limit.
Yeah, well, you'll see if that comes up. But do you agree, like Mark Levin, I was listening to his radio show yesterday, and he said Paul Ryan likes him personally, Mitch McConnell likes him personally, but he used the term Mighty Mouse. He said, do not take government shutdown off the table. I don't care what goes on. You got to let them know everything is on the table and stop until you get everything you want. You've been in Washington, and you've also been in an environment where what you say goes as an officer in the military. There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference. This is about learning how to govern. And, right now, understand with the media that you have in Washington, D.C., you saw the last time that there was a government slowdown. I mean, let's be very honest. It was only 17% of the federal government that was affected. But yet, when you listen to the left and when you listen to their media allies, they turned that into Armageddon. So right now, when the American people are focused on losing their health care coverage, losing their jobs, less opportunities out there, a market that is not expanding toward economic growth, we don't need to introduce, something that gives the left an opportunity to pull themselves out of their own minefield. Now, that's what the military will teach you. If your enemy has gone into a minefield that they laid themselves, let them stay in it.
This is what I was bringing up this yesterday. Tell me if you buy this. If I tell you not to drive that car and you drive it anyway in a rainstorm and you get stuck on the side of the road, I could leave you there, or I could pull up anyway, not say I told you so, fix your flat and get you on your way. I think that you would say to myself, what a great guy. He knows he was right. He fixed my flat. He got me on the way. Do you think the analogy works? If Republicans look at this and save it, not save it in a way that, get some of the things that they want in it, where you could go across state lines to buy insurance, get tort reform, get the doctor choice back. Sure. If they're able to save it and repair it, do you think the American people will be happy the Republicans showed up with a jack?
But this is the difference, and I'll take that analogy and take it to this point. You're pulling up to try to help the person that's gone off the side of the road. As you're getting out to go walk over to help them, they pull out a gun and they start shooting at you. When you have a president that is so arrogant, so belligerent, so obtuse, that he is not looking for any assistance. He is not looking for any reforms. He is not looking for any improvements.
But he says he is. He said, if you have any good ideas, I want to hear them.
Yeah, but he says that, but then he comes back and says, you haven't put out any good ideas. And I just wrote a piece in the Washington Times that laid every single point of this out. There's a bill out there, H.R. 3121, American Health Care Reform Act. So the thing is, you have a group of people in the Democrat Party, they don't want your help. And I believe
then that makes it easy.
Yeah, they don't want your help. They want their way.
Listen, guess what? Lieutenant Colonel Alan West is here. His book is going to be coming out in a few months, Guardian of the Republic. We're going to be talking to you next about Afghanistan. I was staggered to see this stat about casualties over the last few years, and we'll decide how many you're going to stay behind. With these numbers, you might change your mind. All coming back on Kilmeade and Friends.
This is kind of techno dance music.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I'm in South Beach.
No, are we back? All right, thank you very much. I am sorry about that. It's my first day doing this job. I appreciate it. Hey,
you were into the music, man.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm like, why is he talking? Lieutenant Colonel Alan West is with us, Fox News contributor, congressman out of Florida, and who also fought in Iraq.
Yeah.
And then you were a contractor in Afghanistan.
Yes,
correct?
I was a military civilian advisor.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. The AP came out with some stats. Since President Obama took office, 74% of all U.S. military deaths in Afghanistan have taken place. That's during the previous 8 years. There were 558 fatalities. Now that number's at 2,100 and counting. What does that mean? What does that say to you? It could say that a president has put attention on that theater as promised, but how do you read as a military man?
Well, the thing is, I read it as, yeah, you may have put attention by bringing in more troops, but then what did you do as far as resourcing them? What did you do as far as making sure they had the right strategic and operational
rules of engagement?
And rules of engagement, especially. I just recently wrote a story on our blog site, allenbwest.com, about Marine Lance Corporal Buckley Jr. and several other Marines who were killed at a foreign operating base in Helmand when an Afghan soldier walked into the gym there on the base and gunned them down, all because they were not allowed to have any weapons while they were on the base, but the Afghans were, because they didn't want to offend the Afghans. So when you have those types of insidious rules of engagement, you're not allowing...
That comes from the top?
That comes from the top. That does not come from the commander on that forward operating base, because I'm quite sure he would have made sure that his Marines were, properly protected.